This salvation that is beyond behavior modification is for every single one, including Germans. Think about it. Because the Jews always believed that it was only for them. Now here is the condition. Everyone who, come on guys, everyone who believes. So you have to believe to actually experience this, first to the Jew and then to the Gentiles. So here we go. Verse 17, for in the gospel, in this process, in this whole experience, that's where you find, what's the word guys? What do you find? You find righteousness. And this righteousness, I have illustrated this from last week. I'm going to bring it back to you. This righteousness is of God. In other words, the rod, the measurement, the rule tells us who God is. This righteousness, what makes you go from level 1 to level 4, what makes you go from level 2 to level 4, what makes you go from level 3 to level 4 is literally the righteousness of God that is revealed. Now listen to this. A righteousness that is by the righteousness that is the opposite that has been holding you back to level 1. The righteousness that can only operate against level 2. See, because level 1, level 2, and level 3 people. I want you to listen to this. Do not miss this. See, level 1, level 2, level 3 people. They want, most of the time, they want God. They want the righteousness of God. They are crying out for a better United States. We pray for the situation in the Middle East. We pray for, we pray for safety against, difficult situations. We want this, but here's the problem. The Bible says that this is by faith, from first to last. And ultimately he says it is the righteous that will live by faith. See, when you embrace the gospel, and you understand that the standard is God, not you. When you understand that the standard is what God said about himself, not what you think God is. When the standard is not even what you think you are, but it's what God said you are, then you learn to live by faith. Here's the thing, listen to me. Living by faith implies being faithful. Because faith in the Bible is faithfulness. And what's the opposite of faithfulness? Unfaithfulness. Right? Now the key now for us is, how do I keep myself faithful? Because my tendency is to be right here, but most Mondays, when I deal with my boss, dude, I want to be right here. Because I want to knock this dude like right now. I thought there was no tomorrow. Sometimes in my marriage, I'm just like, I know what the Bible says, but let's just take a break. And I'm not telling my wife the way it is, because that's the way I grew up. And besides, I'm the king of the jungle. Right? So, I'm the man, right? Things go the way I want. Things better go the way I thought. So what happens is our tendency to go back is always present. That's why the righteous lives by faith. The righteous, watch this, the righteous, go. The righteous looks at the righteousness. The righteous understands God. God is righteous. And part of his righteousness is his faithfulness. So ultimately, when you go into chapter 3, you see how this is operating. Listen, apart from the law. See, the law is the one that told you you were number 1, but the law never gave you the ability to move from here. The law told you and gave you the diagnosis that you are number 2. But you wanted to change, and you really want a better life in marriage, but you're stuck in this just wishful thinking. The law always tells you that you're a narcissistic, egocentric, self-centered, pious, self-righteous, religious person. That's what Facebook said about yourself. And the Bible says this. This experience of righteousness happened apart from the law. 1, 2, and 3. can only tell you you're a 1, you're a 2, you're a 3, but the law will never take you too far. You know why? You know why you can never go too far through the law? Because you and I, we are law breakers. That's who we are. We have tried to be better. We have really prayed and spent nights asking for the Lord to change our son, who is a 1 and knows no Jesus. My father knows no Christ, and he seems to be completely oblivious, and he doesn't care. I'm at the place where I'm dealing with a marriage, or maybe a brother or a sister who they think that they have it figured out, man, and they're just growing into this egocentric mind, and in the name of Christianity, they keep on hurting others. They use the Bible to hurt others. And you're asking the Lord to help you. See, that's not what faith is. Faith is the ability, listen to this. Faith is the ability to look at the righteousness of God, to look at this God who is holy, who is righteous, who is the standard, and for you to be drawn to this God. You're drawn to Him. And when you get close to Him, and you see how righteous, how good He is, please this, don't miss this, is when you discover that even when you were a 1, and you were down here, because I know 1s right now, you know exactly who I'm talking about. You don't know God. You think you know God, but you're lost and you don't care. Some of you 3s right now, you're here, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, but listen to me. When you were a 1, if you're a 2 or 3, this God who is righteous has always been reaching out to you, because He's faithful. So what happens is faith is simply the reaction to the faithfulness of God. What does that mean? I'll let you ask. The standard isn't simply what God said, but the standard is who God is. Because when you realize who God is, you have no choice but to be faithful to the God who is faithful. Are you following me on this? In other words, if you're in this place and you know that there's some areas in your life, like everybody else, that you're struggling to remain faithful to God, faithful to the right things, faithful to the things that you're supposed to do, it's not because you disregard God. It's not because you don't know the Bible. It's because you are embracing only the image of God, the concept of God, but you're not embracing God. One of the evidences that shows that people know God is that you realize that God is faithful. So listen to the scriptures. This righteousness, this ability to go after number 1s, this ability that sent Jesus to deal with number 2s, this ability, which by the way, 1, 2, and 3 are called the apostles. Huh? Everybody with me? Yeah. This is the kind of people that Jesus called. He did not begin ministry by calling number 4s. So if you're a 1, 2, or 3, you are in the right place at the right time. You're in good company. Listen to this. This righteousness is given only and exclusively through faith. Faith is nothing else but your ability to respond to the faithfulness of God. And this faithfulness is shown, is experienced through Jesus Christ. In other words, you have to know Jesus to know how faithful God is. And this is totally available to anyone who believes. There is no difference between Jew and Gentile. So once again, faith is nothing else but our response to the faithfulness of God. Now, I gotta finish this. I gotta close to today and just let you guys go and enjoy the rest of the day and enjoy my German brothers today. Here is the test. Here's the test. Here's a test. Whether you understand this message or not. Because the more that you know, the more that you embrace the God who is faithful, the more that you want to be faithful. Look at me for a second. What I'm not saying is come to God when you're in need so He can change your circumstances and then put it down while things are going well. Become the standard. Walk away from Jesus. Whenever you get in trouble, come back to God. And then ask Him, say, God, would you please help me? See, that's not what I'm saying. Because the more that you walk closer to the Lord, watch this, watch this, watch this, watch this. Here's the verse that most of you going in church have known. For all have seen and fall short of the glory of God. The closer you walk with this faithful God, and the more that you grow in faithfulness, the more that you realize where you came from. Yes? See, and I just described some of your marriages and family members that you just wish that you can just move on. Because she doesn't get it. Or he doesn't get it. See, when you are a number 4 and you get to know the faithfulness of God, and you grow in faithfulness, you hunger for number 1s. When you're a number 4, your heart breaks for number 2s because you used to be there. So I'm walking into places as a whatever I am, I'm Mexican American, whatever you want to label me with, and I'm listening to the struggles in the language for some folks. And I do remember how it used to be. I do remember how difficult it is to transition from one culture at age 17 to a different culture now as an adult. See, the more that you embrace the faithfulness of God, and you embrace the righteousness of God, and you understand that He is the standard of life, is the more that you have compassion over number 1s, over number 2. Look at me. The closer you are to the Lord, these people are 1, these people are 2, these people are 3, are your best friends. You know what the tragedy of Christianity is right now? Most of us who are or believe we're here, we only attract number 4s. And that's a lie straight from hell. And you will be accountable to that one day. Stop fooling yourself that the reason why you are saved is so you can look down and say, yeah, you all have sinned. Yeah, I've been telling you. Oh, you're number 4s, number 2s, and number 3s. If you would just listen to me, your marriage will be better. No. If you are number 4, look at me, please, look at me. If you're number 4, this is why you're number 14. So you can go down and do life. You know what this is called? The marketplace. Singles? This is called school. Classroom. You were saved for the unsaved. If you are here and you are number 4 and you have embraced the faithfulness of God, you are here because there's men and women who desire to change as number 2s. They desire to know the God of the Bible and they just don't know how to believe. And you need to walk with them. I need to walk with them in compassion. I just described some of your kids. That they know the right thing, they just have a hard time doing it. Now, if you are number 4, number 3s, wow. Number 3s, man, I'm just telling you right now. This is when you come to the altar and just cry out to God. Because at the end of the day, all have sinned, and all have fallen short to the glory of God, to the measurement of God. We do not get it. And here's what I want you to know, is that we are connected to God. We're born out of sin, but we're also just sinning under goodness. It's not accident, so do not excuse yourself. You sin because you're a son of Adam. Yeah, I get it. But at the same time, you're doing this willingly. So the Bible comes to this. This is the good news of the gospel. Just the same way that everyone has sinned, guess what? Everyone can potentially be justified. And here's the key word, freely. Freely justified. See, here's what come on. Think. My German brothers, they live in a place of the world that is surrounded by beautiful countries. There are so many nations in the world. They could have gone to Italy. I've heard Spain is beautiful. They have warm beaches. Ooh. All right. They could have gone to India. Pakistan is a lot of trouble. They need the gospel desperately. Chile is a beautiful country. I've been in Belize. Really nice jumpers. And out of all the countries in the world, they decided to come to the back. They chose this place for a week to come and serve. I want you to listen to this. They freely chose to come here. That's exactly the gospel. The gospel is something that is given freely. It is given freely by His grace through the redemption that came by Jesus Christ. Here is how I invite you this morning to think about it. If you're number 1 and you desire to be number 4. If you're number 2 and you desire to be number 4. If you're number 3 and you know it and you want to stop being ridiculous with this nonsense of self-righteousness, you becoming the standard and you want to make God the standard of your life, please listen to me. This process of 1 to 4, 2 to 4, 3 to 4 only happens through what is called a forensic justification. A foreign agent needs to come and do this. Someone besides yourself. I will even argue this morning. If you're trying to do this on your own, that's exactly why it's not working. And his name is Jesus. This is why Paul says the redemption came by the forensic agent. His name is Jesus. So here is how we say this. We are not simply without guilt as Christians. Who are we in reality? We are the people that we are perceived as the one who has never sinned. So you're free today if you come to know Christ. And if you come to know Christ, it is your responsibility. Verse 27. So let's close this. Where then is boasting? Are you still giving credit to yourself, enlarging your territory? It is excluded. No more of this. Because of what law? Well, the law that requires works? Obviously no, says Paul, because of the law that requires faith. So this morning, I have no better way to illustrate a boastless group of people that have decided to invest of their lives, have decided to come and join the journey of the gospel in the beautiful, beautiful city of Far. I'm going to ask my brothers, my German brothers, to come and join me. If you can please come to the stage. Because when I look at this, men and women who have decided to travel across the world to share the gospel, this is what it's all about. As number 4s, because they have received the gospel previously, they have come and reached out to number 1s, number 2s, and number 3s. Now, I'm not asking you to go to Germany, although you could come and join us for June. But maybe your Germany is home. Maybe your Germany this morning is your spouse that you just slept with last night, and you're not talking to her right now, or you're not in good terms with her. Maybe this is the father that you haven't talked to in a while, your Germany, that you need to reach out. And all that I'm asking the Lord to do for us this morning is, if you have never received this message of justification, to understand that there is an outside agent that needs to come into your life and take his righteousness and put it into your sin, and then take your sin and put it in his righteousness. This exchange, you will never be saved. That's called the gospel. That's called Jesus. So, if you never made the decision, would you please bow your heads right now?